Today's serial topic is Velaris. I know we've already talked about the city in episode 3, but let's take a closer look at everything we know about Velaris, including its history, layout, culture, people, and so much more. And I called in reinforcements for today's serial segment, so big thank you to our Patreon members, Aria and Sammy, for helping fill in the details. Velaris, also known as the Court of Dreams or the City of Starlight, is a hidden, massive city in the Night Court. It is, unsurprisingly, best viewed at night, where some of its citizens choose to be awake at night and sleep during the day so they can enjoy it at its maximum beauty. Thousands of years ago, the Night Court was ruled from the Court of Nightmares, aka the Hewn City, which is under the mountain located in the Night Court. Remember, Amarantha's Under the Mountain was in the middle, and it was fashioned after this Hewn City in the Night Court. An ancient High Lord of the Night Court had a different vision for his territory, though, and he dreamed of somewhere better for his people. Instead of allowing the world to see his lands vulnerable at a time of change, he sealed the Night Court's borders and staged a coup, eliminating the worst of the courtiers and predators. Then he built Velaris for the dreamers, establishing trade and peace. To preserve this precious city, he kept Velaris a secret from outsiders, and so have his descendants. This may make you wonder, how do these High Lords of the Night Court keep such a big city hidden from all outsiders? Its High Lord founder, as well as his descendants, placed powerful spells on Velaris. For instance, those who trade in Velaris are unable to say anything about the city and possess the skill to convincingly lie in order to keep the origin of their goods and ships hidden from the rest of the world. There is a rumor that this ancient High Lord cast his very life's blood upon the stones and river to keep the spell eternal. There are also wards placed around the city to protect it from dangerous outsiders, which we learn can be broken by very powerful magic, like the cauldron. We're not sure if this is the same magic, but a good example of how this could work is the glamour that was around Cretea. It was so powerful that it even worked on Rhys. In addition to spells and wards cast on the city, the High Lords of the Night Court keep the Hewn City the face of this territory and its people. They let everyone who live outside of Velaris believe that the Night Court is home to the worst kind of fae, like those in the Hewn City, which is called the Court of Nightmares for a reason. The Hewn City is the buffer, because without its fearsome reputation, some courts and kingdoms might strike the Night Court and discover the many secrets it's hidden from the other High Lords and courts for these millennia. While we don't know anything else, we do know that about 5,000 years ago, there was an attack on Velaris. But unfortunately, I don't have any other information to provide about that. So we do know that it is possible and there have been attacks, but it's been 5,000 years since the last one. In the present day, Mor oversees both the Hewn City and Velaris. Rhys, of course, lives in Velaris and only makes occasional visits to the Hewn City to keep up the facade as an evil ruler. When Amarantha took over 50 years ago and tricked Rhys out of his power, he used his remaining seconds of power to erase the city and wards from the minds of the Court of Nightmare party attendees, which, side note, this isn't very consistent because Rhys has also stated that the Court of Nightmares is blind to Velaris' existence, so apologies about that conflicting info. Maybe a select few were allowed to know about Velaris for whatever reasons, although I believe the emphasis is more on knowledge about his inner circle, which those in the Court of Nightmares would certainly know about. In these precious few seconds left of having his powers, Rhys also threw a shield around Velaris to bind it to his inner circle so that they had to remain or risk that protection collapsing. I believe this shield is in addition to the existing spells and wards as an extra precaution that made Velaris truly hidden and invisible versus simply not known to the outside world. Rhys also notes that his ruthless ancestors were willing to do anything to preserve a piece of goodness in our wretched world. Rhys does state that perhaps it is Velaris' loss to be so contained and isolated from the rest of the world, but as a whole, the city doesn't seem to suffer from it. All right, let's get into the city layout here. Velaris is built like a crust atop rolling steep hills. These hills are flanked by a broad, winding river called the Sidra River that snakes across the landscape into the sea. You can find plenty of ships on the Sidra River as well. At the northern edge of Velaris is a wall of flat-topped mountains of red stone. The House of Wind is located in the middle and largest peak of the mountain, and to the north are different kinds of mountains that surround the city across the river. Basically, this is my Colorado dream dream city, an incredible, vast city with lots of mountains and so much culture. I love it. I want to live here so badly. The city's buildings are crafted out of white marble, warm sandstone, and the same red stone of the flat-topped mountains. Many quarters of Velaris are full of townhouses with green copper roofs and white chimneys. And friends, Velaris has everything you could dream of. There are 4 main market squares called palaces. 2 are on the southern side and 2 are on the northern side, with the Sidra River dividing north and south. We have the Palace of Thread and Jewels, which sells clothes, shoes, supplies for making both, and endless amounts of jewelry. Then there are the Palace of Bone and Salt and Palace of Hoof and Leaf, which are twin squares on opposite sides of the river. This is where you go grocery shopping. Get your meats, produce, prepared food, livestock, confections, and all the spices here. This is where you can find Nicole. The 4th palace, which we presume is located on the northern side of the Sidra River, is unknown. So sorry, no information there. We also have the famous Rainbow of Velaris, which is the artist quarter and home to the performing arts and 100 galleries. It is a brightly painted pocket in the city, built on top of one of the hills that flows to the river's edge. At night, it glows like a fistful of jewels as if the colors come alive in the moonlight. There are 5 notable theaters in Velaris, and the most famous is Glittering Gold near the top of the hill. There's also an amphitheater on the sea cliffs, which honestly sounds like it can rival even our beloved Red Rocks. There are tower bells that ring throughout Velaris, and Velaris additionally has lots of tea shops, restaurants, pleasure clubs, concert halls, wine rooms, you name it. And while there aren't many, Velaris does have some iffy, you don't want to go there taverns, like the Wolf's Den, which is the worst, that Nesta will come to know well. But hey, it still has music there. Also, I love that it's called the Wolf's Den and the correspondence with Nesta. Oh, I just caught that. The homes and shops use warming magic, specifically in popular outdoor spaces, so that even in the wintertime, you can enjoy the outdoors and all that the city has to offer. Again, as a Colorado girl, I would absolutely love this for year-round patio usage. As for homes, we don't know a whole lot about the housing situation, but for the most part, there are many nice townhomes and apartments throughout the city, and I'm sure some houses too. Then there is, of course, the river house that members of our inner circle will eventually call home. Velaris doesn't have any slums, but there is an area in the north side of the Sidra River that is grim by Velaris' standards, where Nesta will reside later. All right, let's talk about the culture and life in Velaris. I've been describing the facts about Velaris, but it's so important to emphasize how lively and vibrant and captivating this city is. Velaris is full of life and music and culture. Its people love this city, and it's like the circle of life, where the city gives to its people and the people give back to the city, and it's also serene and joyful. Its people seem unhurried, and it is apparent that they have prospered in peace for thousands of years. And after the attack on Velaris, which we will discuss in more detail later, I'm focusing on Velaris more as it is right now in our books, its citizens come together as a community to rebuild it. The city is predominantly occupied by high fae, but there are plenty of other fairies here too. And Prithian's traditional hierarchy of fairies doesn't really apply here. Rhys does say at one point that he has tried unsuccessfully to implement that, but from what Farah observes, everyone really blends together. It is a big melting pot. Everyone is at home and welcome here. As for fashion, Farah has observed that there are high fae in various forms of dress, some in winter coats, some wearing mortal fashions with layers and poofy skirts and lace, some in riding leathers. This is to say, Velaris' citizens wear all types of clothing from various origins, and everyone can simply be themselves. Velaris is also a haven for LGBTQ plus fae, specifically a pleasure hall called Rita's, where our dear Moore frequents most nights, and the owner is, quote, like her. Come the holidays, Velaris is very festive. Starfall in the Night Court is known throughout Prithian, though it is extra special for those in Velaris. Obviously, no one else knows about how big of a deal it is for Velaris because they don't know about Velaris. But hey, it's really fun to be at Starfall in Velaris. Winter Solstice is another majorly celebrated holiday in Velaris, as we will learn all about in Frost and Starlight. We'll talk more about the holidays as they come up in the deep dives. To wrap up this surreal segment, here are a few fun facts about Velaris. It has incredible and flavorful food, rich with spices, as we all know from Spice Watch, and Velaris' breeze smells like salt and lemon verbena. Lastly, the view of the artist quarter is Rhys and his sister's favorite view, or was his sister's favorite view. There you go, everyone. Everything you need to know about Velaris.